Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas with Pam Cazzoli and Kathy Spear. They are with the ALS Care Project, researching and helping families cope with Lou Gehrig's disease. Kathy, welcome. And you've walked this walk. You're a nurse.
Yes.
A nurse practitioner. But also, you know that this is very personal for you, is it not?
Yes. We were very blessed to find Pam in the ALS Care Project almost immediately after my husband's diagnosis. And he started to notice it was difficult for him to say some words. And he was an inside sales manager, and so he was on the phone a lot.
All the time.
Yes, so he actually diagnosed himself before the doctors came to it. And I'm like, oh, no, it can't be that. But he, in, the research that he did online, he felt like that it was probably ALS, and it was. So very, soon after that determination, a friend told us about Pam, that a fellow nurse who was in hospice care said, oh, you've got to meet Pam Cazzoli, and what a huge blessing that was. So my husband came down and met with Pam, and she walked through the entire process with us and educated us, helped us educate our doctors, and with the right questions to ask, and think about this and think about that, and came out to the house and was so very helpful. And my husband wanted to live, and very much wanted to live. We were blessed with a daughter with Down syndrome and later in life, and he wanted to see as much of her life as he could.
Yes.
So we were very aggressive in making sure that he was able to be with us as long as he could, and
What
Pam
does
was a
that
huge
mean?
part.
How were you very aggressive
We
with
were
this?
very aggressive in making sure that our care providers had correct information, and if they didn't, we referred them to Pam or got the information to them. All the things that she spoke of earlier, of making sure that he had adequate nutrition, that he was moving appropriately. We got ahead of things as far as allowing him to be able to communicate. He was using an eye gaze computer. We knew that he wanted to go on the ventilator. Pam was so helpful in making sure that the steps up to that we were managing his airway appropriately. So we always tried to be kind of ahead of what was coming. And I must say it was a lot. It is very overwhelming. Bill had a real strong motivation to stay with us. And as you know, I'm not sure that we've talked about it, ALS does not affect your cognitive function. So he was a very smart man, and had a lot to offer, and he was very good at computers. So the eye gaze computer was a great way for him to be able to stay connected and to be able to communicate. So the healthcare industry was not as familiar with people that were so determined to stay alive.
Isn't that fun? when you just absolutely blow their minds. I can think of others who are given a horrible diagnosis and then last way beyond what anyone expects. Isn't that just very encouraging, and probably encouraging to the healthcare industry as well?
Well, when they determined that Bill had ALS, they told us probably because of the signs and symptoms that were there, he probably wouldn't live 2 years. And
what did he do?
He lived over 5 years.
Wow.
Now, he would have been able to live beyond that. I believe, were it not for some poor lifestyle choices in his younger years that made his lungs a little bit more fragile. He smoked as a younger man, and that was when you have to go into a long-term situation with a ventilator, being a prior smoker doesn't help you. So that were it not for that, I think that he could have even lived longer. And the technology, Bill's been gone about 4.5 years now. At the time, he was slated to be part of a research program where they could put electrodes on his head, and all he had to do was think about where he wanted the cursor on the computer to go so that he could still communicate, because he was at the point where he was not even able to move his eyes well. So we had to have other ways to be able to communicate, and but he died 2 weeks before they were coming to hook him up with that computer.
How old was your daughter when he passed?
Abby was about 10.
So he got to see her get and become a young
adult, and she talks about Daddy all the time, and so she's is a joy and a delight, and a very good reason to want to live.
There's an aspect to this that I would love to get into, and I think you kind of have hinted at it. His attitude had a lot to do with his ability to combat this disease.
Yes.
Where does that and where does faith come in? Because we can talk about the nuts and bolts. You go into autopilot, but there is more to fighting this than meets the eye.
And that's what he wanted everybody to know, that he knew where he was going.
Yes.
That heaven was his home, and he wanted to make sure that he wanted to bring as many people along with him as he could. And so that gave us the courage and the strength to keep going, because it's so draining. And I look back now and I think, well, it was only the Lord that got us through that, because it's just of your human strength that's it's not sufficient. And he was. I say he had the confidence that he knew where he was going, but he wanted to see this gift of his daughter that we weren't expecting.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That would have a lot to do with it. When you're talking about draining, it's physically draining. So at some point, you must know that we need help. We need caregivers. I can't lift this person that I love anymore. And, and what do you do? Like, really practically, what do you do? I'll throw this out to either of you.
Yeah, well, I know the Lord, by just really trusting in the Lord and turning to Him, because He is our strength, and through this. And I know Kathy, I have to say, because I've seen her over for many years, but how she has turned to the Lord, and how He has really seen her through, and even providing for the needs, because she's faced challenges, with benefits and getting the right help, and we just kept believing that, my God shall supply all my needs. We just, standing on the Word every day, and that's what we want to tell, share with people too, anybody listening, even with a disability of any kind, because they're feeling maybe helpless. We don't want people to be feeling helpless and hopeless and in despair and giving up.
And it is a fight.
It is a fight.
It is a fight, but God, brought Pam into our lives to help us with that, to see what the resources were.
Let's talk specifically about those resources and ALS Care Project. When people come to you, Pam, what kind of help can they expect to receive?
Well, what we do is we support them, and we assess their problems, through our nursing consultation program, assessing their problems and identifying care interventions that would help them, and giving choices so they can choose, how they would like to have their care.
For example, what would some of those choices be?
Well, some people, because I have worked then with some families, and it's very individual. I mean, this hits people in different parts of their lives, and they have different priorities. And, Pam, I think, excels in respiratory management.
Yes.
And there's so much out there that needs that the clinical community is not as up to date on as they could be or should be.
You're the person to find. If this is part of your life, you are the person.
You need to find ALS Care Project.
Yes.
Well, what we are doing actually is writing for publication. Our goal is to get into the nursing textbooks and for the allied healthcare professionals, and helping to establish best practices. And we're gathering nurses and the healthcare professionals as a team, putting together. And we also work together too. I'm working with the American Academy of Neurology with Dr. Brooks, who's a leader for best practices. And so we're working too with a neurologist. But there are choices. That's the point. There's choices. And what people need to know is not all in the literature. to find, and then you can't always find it on the web. Although our website does have accurate information there, we are very careful what we put on our website.
Does ALS seem to go along with something else? That if you find yourself with a certain condition or something, you are prone to have ALS, or we don't know yet?
I mean, as far as having a condition that would lead to that would trigger the cause of ALS, no. There's no other condition, that would do that.
They're not tied together.
No.
Kathy, if you could go back, well, let me say, when you find people and you're helping people that are going through the same walk, what best advice, or if you could go back to your younger self and say, okay, here's what you need to do first, what would you tell them, or what would you tell yourself?
It's the same thing.
Yes.
I tell them, talk to Pam Cazzoli. We are so blessed.
Number one is find Pam.
Pam, yes, because we are so fortunate to have this resource in our area.
Right here, because you could travel far and wide before
and not find it. Because, we worked with really good clinical people that didn't have the knowledge that Pam did, that weren't able to, to address issues of skin breakdown with the masks that they use to help breathe. And Pam knows that, oh, wait a minute, no, Medicare, you can, every 6 months you should have another mask so you don't get skin breakdown. And just little things,
Because we don't know what we don't know.
We don't know what we don't know.
And Pam knows.
And Pam knows these things.
What would be number two then, very practically, as far as how to live with this in your home?
Is to go in your closet and rely and call out to the Lord to help you, that He will supply all of your needs. And I think that what got us through is that one of the names that the Lord uses for Himself is Emmanuel, the with us God. And He is with us. He was with us, and you need to hold on tight to that, and to have the confidence that He is going to show you the next thing.
Yes. What's taking place at the open house on June 12th?
Well, we'll be having refreshments and people there, and we'll be able to show what we're doing, because we have actually learning tools there. When people come, that they can, like as far as for the care, how to manage their problems. And I don't know if I mentioned about our mission, because our mission
let's mention
of ALS Care Project is to improve the care of ALS through collaborative research and education, and also helping people cope with the disease, with that, and educating on the options for breathing and living. And
So
our vision is to make a significant difference in the lives of people with ALS, and that's what we want to
certainly
help them.
doing it. Let's remind everybody the website where they can get more information, phone number where they can contact you, Pam.
So our website is alscareproject.org, and the phone is, they can call 330-492-4ALS.
Pam Cazzoli, Kathy Spear, thanks for all you do in our community.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.